The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. We are happy to have you with us today for the next session in our Build Your AutoCAD IQ series. We've been off for several weeks with the holidays and then the new year, so we are happy to have you all back with us. We'll be continuing our Back to Basics series. Today we'll be doing Getting a Handle on Grips and giving some good tips and tricks on how to use grips in your files. So we're going to just run a few polls quickly before we start the session, just to get an idea of who we have on the line. So the first one, if you would be so kind as to let us know, we're wondering if this is your first webinar or if you've been to them before. And we'll give just a few seconds here, give everybody a chance. And it's looking like about 2/3 are new attendees, so that's great to see. We're happy to have you here with us. All right, I'll close that one and then just run one more quick one, which we're just curious which type of software you're using from Autodesk. So again, if you could just enter that in, that would be a big help to us. And looks like a majority on AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT, and then about 20% on the verticals. So that's great. We're happy to have you all with us. So as I mentioned, Volker will be leading our session today, and with Christina and myself assisting. So we will turn this over to Mr. Volker.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Really appreciate that. It's good to see those of you who have been with us before return. And for those of you who are new to these webinars, we're really glad you joined us, and hopefully we can show you some features that you haven't used before or just want to know more about. Again, as Sean said, this is going to be our back to basics, getting a handle on grips. And to begin, we do need to do a little bit of housekeeping. I know some of you have seen this before, but it has to be done. First of all, feel free to leave any questions in the chat window, and we will try and get those. Sean and Christina will be watching that.
Hey, Volker?
Yes?
Sorry, just real quick, I don't think we're seeing your screen right now. I know we've been off for a few weeks. We have some cobwebs probably to dust off. There it is.
Okay,
Perfect.
good.
Thank you.
Scaring me there, Sean. Okay, so before we get started, leave your questions in the chat window, and Sean and Christina will be answering those, and we'll try and answer as many as we can throughout the session or afterwards. This session will be recorded, and this slide deck that you're seeing, which has some great hyperlinks in it to more information about grips and other resources, that'll be available at the website that you see on the display right now. That link will also be in the post-webinar survey, so if anything, we'd love to have you fill out that survey, but also make use of the link so that you can get to this information. Another thing, we do have a landing page which lists all of our webinars upcoming. The picture you're seeing is a little out of date. We do have new webinars posted. And again, Q&A after the presentation to answer additional questions. And go ahead and leave feedback if you have questions that come up after the webinar or that we aren't able to get to. Go ahead and leave feedback either on that landing page, there's a link there, or you can email autodesk.help.webinars@autodesk.com. Be sure to put Build Your AutoCAD IQ in that subject line so that we can differentiate from our other webinars. And it's kind of hard to believe, but we're at webinar number 20 right now, not listed on this page. So we do have our previous 20 webinars on that landing page. There's a link to it there, a little playlist, or you can go to our AutoCAD Exchange channel, Build Your AutoCAD IQ, on YouTube to view these previous webinars. So since we are Autodesk product support, we would be wrong in not pointing out the Autodesk Knowledge Network website. Okay, this side here is where you can find downloads, troubleshooting information, getting started information, as well as solutions to a lot of the issues or maybe announcements for service packs that have been made available. The topics you're seeing right there are the top 5 viewed topics on our website over the past week. And there are also some quick links to AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT service packs and downloads. So there's a lot of good information on that website that I would encourage you to check out. All right, today's agenda. Well, we're going to get a grip on grips, actually get a handle on grips so it's not so redundant. We'll talk about grips, what they are, the different types of grips, what settings you can use to modify not only the appearance but how grips interact within your drawings, and of course we'll do a demo as well. So grips, what are they? Well, grips are a way to select an object, and when you do, these little squares appear. They are blue by default, and what they do is allow you to modify an object or objects without having to go into any of the classic AutoCAD commands from the ribbon or from the command line. You actually have the functionality available to you just by using the space bar or by using a right mouse click context menu. And as you can see in this picture here, those are some of the common commands for all grips that are available to you. So the different grip types that you need to be aware of, and I've got quite a few, not quite a few slides, but a couple of slides that I'm just going to show these different types and some of the functionality first in these slides, and then you'll see it in action, but there's quite a bit of information here. First of all, you have an unselected grip. This is basically when you select an object, that's how the grip appears, and that's top left there. On the top right, you'll see a selected grip, and when you select a grip, that means you select the blue grip and it turns red, which is also known as a hot grip. Okay, and in this instance here, dynamic input is on, so you're actually seeing additional information about the grip as well as, in this case, the radius of the circle. On the bottom left, you'll see we have a hover grip, and basically you're just moving your mouse cursor on top of that grip without picking it or selecting it, and it will provide feedback about that object. So in this case, it again shows me the radius of the circle, but if you take a look at the lower right corner, it actually will also give you information about, say, the length of an object as well as the angle. So in this case, 0 degrees is what's showing. This particular picture in the lower right is of a multifunctional grip. It's called this because when you hover or select a grip on an object that has multifunctional capabilities, you're going to get a little menu that appears. So in this case, you have an option to stretch or lengthen that particular line. So grips have come a long way. We used to not have that type of information available to us, but they've come a long way, and they've added some nice features to grips. So again, there are a lot of ways to modify not only the appearance of grips, but how the grip interacts within the drawing itself. And this is all controlled either by typing in a system variable, and I've got those all listed on the left side of the screen there, or just by going into the options dialog and going into the selection tab. Here you can modify the grip size, and what you'll be seeing in the drawing today is the default size, but you can certainly use the slider control or use the system variable grip size to specify a larger grip. The grip colors button will bring up a dialog. In fact, anytime you see those 3 dots after a command or label on a command button, that means it's going to open up a dialog. So in this case, we would be able to change the grip color, the grip hot color. So grip color is for your basic select an object blue grip. Okay, grip hot is the red grip we saw. Grip hover is the orange or color 11 grip that we saw. There's one additional color. It's called grip contour, and this basically allows you to change the color of the outline of the grip. So let's say you have a yellow, you change it to yellow and you want a black outline to distinguish it. You may want to do that. You have that control. Show grips, basically you can disable the functionality of grips completely if you don't want those. And maybe if you're working in a very, very large drawing and all the objects, anytime you select something, you see a performance issue, be it graphic or anything else, you could turn off these grips to enhance AutoCAD's performance. This really isn't an issue anymore. It was back in the day when we had slower processors, less memory. We also have an option to show grips within blocks. Basically, when you select a block, you will only have a grip appear at the insertion point of that block. If you want the grip to appear at every vertice or center point or whatever type of object you have within that block, you could enable that. And I'll show you how that looks a little later. Some grips, depending on which ones you're working with, will have tips enabled. You could turn that off. The dynamic grip menu is for that multifunctional block where we previously I showed you we had lengthen and stretch. If you don't want to see that menu, you can turn it off. You can also use control cycling to toggle between the options on that menu, so you can enable or disable that as well. When you select a group, similar to a block, if you're familiar with groups, it's a command in AutoCAD that just groups objects together, and by default you're only showing a single grip on a group, and it displays a bounding box to show you the edge of that group. And I'll display that a little bit later as well. There's an object selection limit for display of grips. So this is something you may want to be aware of. It is set for 100 grips to appear at the most on an object. You may have a rather large selection set, and all of a sudden you have 1,000 grips. That may actually hinder performance a little bit, or it may not, depending on your system. But by default, it's set to 100. You can certainly change this value to a higher or lesser number if you choose. I don't see any reason to change it to a lesser, but maybe to a higher number if you're working in a complex drawing and you need to see those grips for some reason. Okay, so having said that, we will go ahead and do a demonstration of grips in AutoCAD. Okay, I am working in AutoCAD LT 2015, and this is identical to any application that is built on top of AutoCAD. So AutoCAD, any of the verticals, you're going to have these grips. Some applications may have additional grip types, and in fact, just using dynamic blocks would give you some additional grip types. But otherwise, what I'm showing here is consistent across the board. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is just turn off my dynamic input for a moment. we have some simple objects here. Depending on the type of objects you select, you're going to get a different variety of grips available to you. So let's take a look first at the AutoCAD line. When I select that object, we have grips appearing at both endpoints and one in the middle. If I select the midpoint grip, it automatically goes into a move mode. Okay, and it's actually a stretch mode. All right, that's the default mode, but because it's a line object, it's going to move it in this case, as it would for a circle. But take a look at the command line. Here's a specify stretch point, base point, copy, undo, exit. Those are all options available on your right mouse click menu. So you can either toggle between those using your space bar, or you can
And Volker, sounds like you might have cut out a little bit. Still there?
How are we doing now?
You are back.
Oh, okay. Did you catch the part about the right click menu?
Yes, we saw the right click.
All right. Okay, so again, we can toggle through those, and again, it's a stretch mode as a default. I'm going to go ahead and select the endpoint. Notice the multifunctional menu, but all I have to do here is pick, and I can stretch this to whatever length I want. And let's just go ahead and extend that by a value of 2. There we go. I've just typed in 2, so I'm using direct distance entry. Grips on a circle appear the same. By the way, I hit escape to get out of this, to get out of those grips. On a circle, we're going to see the same thing. Okay, but we have 4 grips, 1 on each quadrant and 1 on the center. The center is a move option or stretch, okay, but because it can't be stretched, it moves it. If I select one of the quadrants, that allows me to go into stretch mode. And notice that it's giving me, because I have polar tracking on, it's giving me the distance as well as angle. Here's the cool thing about grips, though. I personally do not use dynamic input too much. But this is a case where I like using it because, and we're going to backtrack to the line. If I select the line now and I hover over this line object, notice because I have dynamic input on, it is giving me the length as well as the angle of that line. So if you don't typically use dynamic input, this is a case where you may want to because it gives you additional information. In fact, if I select the stretch grip here, notice that it also gives me the length as well as the distance going this way. You're going to see different, again with different objects, you'll see that you have different information displayed. I'm hitting escape to cancel. I'm going to go into the circle. And again, center point moves. But if I go to the quadrant here and select, it gives me the polar angle. And notice the value of the size of the circle right there on the top tip there. Okay, so it's giving me the distance I'm going there. And right now, the circle, if I want to change its value, okay, so it's right now it's 1 unit radius. I can just type in something like 0.5, and it allows me to reduce that circle by half. So there's some good stuff happening there with grips as well. Grips can also be used as an OSNAP tool, okay, to find the exact point on an object, basically while you're modifying. So I have OSNAPs off right now. But what I'm going to do is select the circle and select the line. Then I'll go ahead and select the endpoint of the line, and I'm going to bring it over the center point. Without OSNAPs on, once I pick that point, it has picked the exact center of that circle. And notice that right now it's also giving me not only the distance or length of that line, but the angle at which we've placed it. Now, again, I could do the same thing over here. O-snaps are off. I'll just bring it, whoops, I did need to select this rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and pick right there, and it gives the exact endpoint of that line. So why did the circle move? Because it was selected at the same time as the line itself. Okay, so because two objects were selected, I went into a stretch or move mode on one. It modifies both of those. I'm going to undo this step. Let's take a look at the rectangle. It also has some additional functionality. In fact, there's a middle grip here. This is basically a tool that allows me to stretch, add a vertice, or convert to an arc. If I pick a stretch point on here, or a endpoint, notice it gives me both the distance for the horizontal and vertical. If I pick this now, it's going to go into stretch mode, right? And so it kind of tweaks this out of shape. That's probably not what I want. So I'm going to just escape out of this once. And in order to stretch two or more objects, you hold down on the Shift key. Okay, so I'm picking here, holding down on the Shift key, and I'll pick this point here. Now I have two hot grips, and I could pick as many objects as I want and make all those grips hot. This allows me now to stretch this in a symmetrical fashion. Again, let's take a look at this grip here, this on this polyline. This was introduced, I think, in release 11 of AutoCAD. And one of the nicest features here is the ability to convert this line to an arc. And of course, this is going to work on a polyline object, not on a regular line type. I can also select a grip, whoops, hover over this grip, and I'm going to go ahead and say remove a vertex. And so it allows me to modify the polyline object. Now I have my ice cream cone that I dropped on the ground. So I'm going to go back to the line object. I'm just going to draw a new one here. And we have all those options to select a grip. Got to select it, Voker. Let's go ahead and select the end here. And to move, rotate, scale, mirror, and copy. But one nice thing about working with, depending on what you're doing, I guess, is I'm going to make a copy of this line using, and it's going to have the exact same spacing between each copy. It automatically creates an array for you by holding down on the Control key. So I'm going to go into copy mode. So let's go about that far. And notice how my crosshair or cursor is now jumping from point to point. But regardless of where I'm going, it's, well, in that case I went a little too far, but it creates a copy at exact distances, similar to an array or an offset. So that's some nice functionality there as well. Let's take a look at another object. This is a block. By default, a grip will show up at the insertion point of the block. But what if I wanted other grips for whatever reason? I want to work with grips on this block. This is where I go into Options. And I can go into the Selection tab, and I can tell it to show grips within blocks. Now when I select that block, we have multiple grips. I personally do not use this functionality. I know people who have a need to use it, but you know, it's all how you work with AutoCAD. I'm just showing you the functionality here. But it is available. Personally, I prefer not to work with it, and so I am going to turn it off again. But I told you I would show that, and I did. Now next I'm going to show you how we can use grips to use some of the other functionality like the copy, the mirror functionality, and rotate functionality. But I'll ask Sean or Christina if they have anything to add so far or have any questions.
We just had one question, which was Nick was asking for the link to the SheetSet video. That is in the chat window, but we'll post that again so that you can get that there. But besides that, there's no questions at this time, Volker.
Okay, just to add, all of the videos, so like let's say if you went to the landing page, in the top left corner of the initial video that you see, there's an item there marked playlist. And if you select that, it'll show you all the other available videos. So thanks for asking about those. All right, so first of all, oh look, Christina, Sean. Anyway, here we have a group. So with those who are not familiar with groups, it's basically just a way to group objects together. And I'll just go ahead and slide this over here and just show you that option in the options dialog box to show bounding box for groups. This is the bounding box, so it'll show you the extents of your group if you had a need to select it or for whatever purpose. There are a lot of reasons to maybe have this enabled or not. If it's disabled in the groups selection of options, then of course you won't see this. And I guess the nice thing about this, it distinguishes a group from a block. And the difference being that a group can only exist in the drawing it was created in. You can't export it. It is a block in a sense, but I'm not going to get into that too much. We're just showing grips here. Okay, so let's take a look at how we can modify an object using a grip. What I'm going to do is I obviously have a cubicle here, and what I want to do is create a mirror image of the objects in my cubicle. So let's zoom in on this so we can see what we're doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is, just like anything, you know, I can either, well, with AutoCAD classic commands, we could either select and then give the command or vice versa. With grips, you select the command, select the objects first that you want to modify. And then I'm going to go ahead and just select any grip here. And I'm going to go right mouse click and use the mirror option to mirror this object over here. So I'll go ahead and do that. Select mirror. And of course that's not my mirror line. That's not what I want. So I'm again going to right mouse click and I'm going to tell AutoCAD I'd like to use a different base point. And I'm going to just turn on my O-snaps here real quick and use the midpoint of this as my starting base point, and then the second mirror line point I'll just pick upwards a little bit and pick. So if you're used to the mirror command, right now you would typically see a prompt that says, would you like to erase the original objects or keep them? Something similar to that. Normally you'd say, hey, yeah, I want to keep them. So what happens here is the mirror command using a grip is quite a bit different in that sense from the regular mirror command. It actually just moves the objects to the mirrored location. It does not leave an original. So I'm going to undo that step. I'm going to go ahead and again select these objects. Again, I'll just pick an arbitrary base point here. And I'll go ahead and go into mirror. I'm going to go ahead and select base point again. It doesn't have to be in this order. Okay, I could have chosen the next step first, but there's my mirror line. And now I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to tell, look, I want to make a copy. And so being in a copy mode now, it mirrors that object. The thing about this is it remains in a copy mode. So that wasn't an ideal first base point, but if I had something that I needed to mirror again, similar to, say, the array command, I could certainly do that. But as it is, I am done. I can either hit escape or right mouse click and exit, and I've mirrored my objects. One thing to be aware of right now, I'm able to, let's actually select more objects here. We'll select these objects, and these objects are on the furniture layer, okay? And they have all been selected and all have grips. One of the things I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and lock that layer. So be aware of this. When you lock a layer, did I lock that? Yeah.
Hi, Volker. I think we might have lost you again. Maybe switch up your headset again. But it looks like I think what Volker was going to be talking about is when you lock that layer and then. Oh, are you back, Volker?
Yeah, well, I hope so. Am I? Test? I'm not sure what's happening there, people. Sorry.
No problem. You're back.
But thank goodness we have Christina here with us to alert me to these things. Anyway, so when you lock a layer, those grips don't appear. So if you know for sure your grips are enabled in options, but they're not appearing on the drawing, maybe it's because that layer is locked. So that's one of the first things I would go ahead and check in that case. So anyway, the locked layer will also fade out, but some people do turn that off. So there really isn't much more to talk about with grips. I mean, we have additional grips that appear in things like our tool palettes. So we have, say, a dynamic block. Okay, with this dynamic block, that's a bad example. Go to architecture. There we go. Let's go ahead and select a door. And I'm just going to show this. I'm not here to talk about dynamic blocks. But in vertical applications such as Civil 3D, architectural desktop, you're going to have different grips. So if you aren't familiar with grips at all, be aware you may see objects that have grips like this. These are just more intelligent objects, and they have different grip functionality. And again, I'm not going to discuss this. We actually did a webinar on dynamic blocks, and there's some more information getting you started with dynamic blocks. Check that out on our webinar page, as well as our other videos of previous sessions. I think that's about it for the AutoCAD portion of this. I do have some additional resources in this PowerPoint slide which you can download, and it goes into more geeky details about grips. There are parametric objects in AutoCAD and constrained objects, so there's information about that as well. And coming up, we're going to have our next session is going to be on working with macros in AutoCAD. Following that, a tips and tricks session. And then following that, a working with layers session. So I encourage you to join us for future sessions and leave any feedback that you have on our landing page. Right now, I'm not sure if we have any questions. Do we, Christina? Or?
We do. So we have one question about that dynamic block that you put in that door, and the question was, how could you make that door larger, like instead of 3 foot 4 inches, like 3 foot 8? And that probably the dynamic block. I actually put the dynamic block link directly to that YouTube video in the chat window, so that would be a good one to watch because it does talk about how you can use dynamic blocks to show different sizes, or you could even make a block that stretches. You might have do you have a stretch grip on that door there?
Yeah, there's since we do have some extra time.
Yeah, sure.
There are different grips here. We have what is called a flip grip. Okay, and that changes the direction. This grip here allows me to control specific sizes for the door itself. Okay, notice that it's jumping between increments of, in this case it was 2 foot, 2 foot 4, 2 foot 6, 2 foot 8.
Yeah, and it can go larger than that. It's just for this particular block.
It all depends what you want to put into that block, really. This is actually your another grip to flip. We also have a wall thickness grip, and again, predefined, okay, by the architect of the block. And really, depending on how, you can either make this very complex, some of them are very complex to make. I've seen cranes, a fully working crane made out of a dynamic block. But it all depends on what you want to put into it. This here is just a menu drop-down list that allows me to specify different openings for the block. So these dynamic blocks, I use Control-3. That brings up my tool palette that comes with AutoCAD. And there are sample blocks, dynamic blocks. So I use the door imperial, but we have a window, aluminum window, fluorescent, studs, toilets, trees. For annotation, we have call-out bubbles, elevation markers, we have scales, direction arrows. Electrical, there are components here as well. Pilot lights, normally open, push button. Well, actually, it's not normally open all the time. It's just a push button that can be normally open or normally closed, depending on what they put into this one. So, there's quite a bit of functionality that can be put in these. But
Great.
Again, the topic here is about grips. So
Before you get off on a tangent.
Grip on it.
So we do have some more questions. So one was just on the PowerPoints. Can you just remind everybody again, are you going to be is that going up on the feedback page, or are you going to be sending that out with the final survey?
Okay, so the PowerPoint, you'll be getting a post-webinar survey. And that PowerPoint, you can get it from that link that's in the survey, but I will also right now switch back to the PowerPoint slide here. And this is where you can, if you feel like writing that down, the PowerPoint is available at that particular link. If there's a problem with the link, please feel free to email us. I should probably put these all on one page maybe, but I don't know how many times I've looked through the slide deck and I keep forgetting where things are. So autodesk.help.webinars@autodesk.com. So if there's any problem with the link for that PowerPoint, feel free to send us an email. Be sure to, again, build your AutoCAD IQ. Please put that in the subject so that we can get it directed to us. We do have several different teams working on different webinars, and this really helps us.
Great.
Anything?
And yep, one more. If you
Okay.
could review how you did the holding the grip with the control button so that it was like offset and array. If you could
Oh yeah,
review
sure.
that one more time.
Yeah, be happy to. Let me get out this guy here. All right, so find a blank drawing canvas there. Just go ahead and place that line work there. All right, I'm going to pick on this grip right here to go into that stretch mode. Now I'm going to hold down on the control key. And so this is, let's say this is the distance I want it to be. And again, array or offset, you know, you can, it'll be a lot easier just to type in an accurate value. But if you're just wanting to place something at specific distances, you know, in a more of an arbitrary manner, this is great. So I'm just going to pick, and I'm still holding down on the control key, but as I move my crosshair, the closer I am to one distance from the other, okay, that's where it's going to place it. So right now I'm moving my crosshair up a little bit, and because I did that, it's now twice the distance. But if I move this here now, it's snapping in place between the halfway point of those two lines. Christina, do you think that made sense?
Yes, let me take a look and see. We'll see if they're spawned back. But yeah, I think it was just I want to review that again. Yes, he says he's got it. Thank you very much. Okay.
All right.
Then,
well, thanks for asking on that one.
all right, and then we have another one that's a little bit off topic, but we still have some time. So it was, what is the best way to turn a PDF into a DWG file? So we're both kind of like, there's, I guess it depends on what you actually need from that file. So you can underlay a PDF into a DWG file and use that as a background. The other option would be probably use something like raster design is what I used to use to, that's a product that goes on top of AutoCAD, to use some line followers to help with that tracing and overlapping. But in terms of like converting it to a DWG, I guess typically the person who's sending it probably doesn't want you to do that. So there isn't like one easy button like convert PDF. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, there isn't it. I'm going to interrupt you though, because I actually had a support request for this the other day, Christina, mm-hmm. and I'm not sure what release of AutoCAD you're working with, and I'm not sure if this works with AutoCAD LT, but we have the Exchange App Store.
Yeah.
And on the Exchange App Store, num-de-dum, this actually usually goes a lot faster. There we go. It always takes longer when you're waiting, though. Must I? There, if you do a search here, DWG to PDF, for at least for AutoCAD, I really didn't want to log into this because I always forget my password and I have to look it up. It left me in. Okay,
I can maybe try to pull it up so at least get the name.
I'm good here. It left me signed in for my last time.
Good.
It is a cool store for those using AutoCAD. There's a lot of plugins. Most of these are free. PDF to DWG. And I forget Print to CAD. Yeah, Print to CAD 2015 is able to convert PDF files into a DWG or DXF. Hey, I can't. This is a trial version. I also, can't tell you that it's good or bad or what. I haven't used it. Here's also another one, print all PDF DWG. I'm not sure if that does the same thing. The person I sent the link to, I think it was actually for that one, sent me a thank you, so I'm assuming it worked. But there are all kinds of plugins available here. So if you haven't been here, check it out. Good stuff here.
There is good stuff up there. And just a note on those, do remember as well that they are each developed by different people, different users, so they're not developed directly by Autodesk. So if you did have some issues with some of the output of it, you would want to contact whoever usually the email is included when you open up the app, so that would be the person you'd want to reach out to figure out why their app is not behaving the way it was promised.
Right, there's a link actually, so right here, this is for that one utility, and you have some download details. The company, their website, and then if you need support, this is who you need to contact. This is not an Autodesk product. Some of these are made, actually developed by employees who work for Autodesk, but again, Autodesk does not support them. It's the person who developed it, the person or the company. That doesn't mean we don't want anything to do with them. If we didn't, we wouldn't have them up here. It just means we can't keep track of all the different apps that are out there. So, good stuff here, though. So,
yeah. All right, and we have one other. If you could go back real quick, we won't dig too much. Like I said, the dynamic blocks. We do have a video on that, so that is what you want to watch. But if you could take a look at that door one more time, Volker, real quick, and we can just. Yeah. I'll just point out. So the question kind of came up again. How do we get that door that Autodesk is giving us to have more sizes? And without building the whole block, if you edit the block, Volker, because I took a look at it to see how they put the width in.
Yeah. Okay. Why am I getting that?
Oh.
Something with. I must have typed something in.
Okay.
All right. Let's do this. Edit and Imperial door.
Door Imperial?
Yeah, I'm going blind today. There we go. Thanks, Christina. I must have done something on my block there.
Yeah. Maybe we... Looks okay.
Yeah, so,
all right, so we might change that.
For what it's worth, I wasn't expecting to show anything on dynamic blocks. Yeah. I was assisting a customer with dynamic blocks, and I think I may have messed up one of my sample blocks.
That's all right. Well, where it is, I'll just kind of let the person know the question. Basically, when you go into the block editor and get that door and edit it, you'll see that there's limiter parameters, and there's one that's called door size on that particular one. If you were to select that and then look in the properties palette, there is a section that says list, and that particular parameter has a list that says 24, 28, and those are the sizes that are available. So to go beyond that, there you go, perfect. Yeah, and then over in the properties at the bottom, the value set. So if you look at the screen now, Volker has succeeded in getting into that block. So it has a list, and the values are coming from that list. So it only has so many because that's just a sample. That's all that was put in there. But you can edit this block if you needed to do more than that, or you can create your own to use the sizes that you need specifically. But again, that dynamic blocks has its own webinar, probably could have 5 more. But that's just kind of an understanding of how it's put that in there. So I hope that gets you started.
Yeah, you're welcome to modify these. I mean, I just selected right here, and I could easily add additional values to this. And you can add specific distances. You can change this from a list box to an increment list. Increments are the little hash marks you saw as I was resizing the door. Those are just little hash marks. Or you give it the value list where a person can choose a drop-down list. It's what you want to put into it that will, this is the increments right here, these little hash marks. But it's what you want to put into it that dictates how much functionality your dynamic block has. So.
All right, and then one more question that came up was just about other webinars that we have. Particularly, this person was looking for Plant 3D, and I was just wondering, do we have a? I know we have our AutoCAD IQ landing page, but I wasn't sure if we had a full list of all the upcoming ones.
Actually, if you go to the, you know, do I even have that link here? Let's do this. And I always forget what the link is, and I don't have it bookmarked anywhere either.
Same here.
Let's go. I hope this isn't just the AutoCAD one. Yeah, there we go. No, that's just AutoCAD. But we should
actually, let me look. The series that is right now, we have. I did find our sheet. So we've got Build Your AutoCAD IQ in English and German, Simulation, the products, Mold Flow, Composite, Mechanical, and then the Up and Ready, which is our installation and licensing team. So it doesn't look like right now on the schedule Plant 3D is scheduled just yet, but we can make a note to our team that we've had some interest in that and see what comes there.
Yeah, so what I'll do here in a few moments, once we're done, is that same link where you can download the PowerPoint. I'll go ahead and put a an icon with the URL for the primary landing page for all our webinars. And from that page, it'll list them all, and it will allow you to sign up for any of the other webinars that are available. There are certain products we still don't have webinars available for. We are working on expanding all this. I mean, we have, like Christina said, installation and licensing and simulation. This just started a few months back, and we're attempting to expand it as best as we can without too many glitches. So do send feedback about that, though. All right, Christina, how are we doing?
Okay, that was the last question now, so we've got about 7 minutes left. If anybody did want to throw any last-minute questions, whether they are on or off topic. If they are too off topic, we may ask you to post it in another area, but feel free to let us know. While you're thinking about that, I'll throw out that last poll, Volker.
Yeah, great.
We're just wondering, did you learn something new in today's session? I personally will be honest, I was not familiar with that grip contour, the outline, and that's actually something that I know some people with visibility issues, they're looking for things that have a little bit of adjustment from the background, so that is very helpful.
Well, good.
Thank you. Glad
to hear that. Actually, I can, since we have a moment, I'll go ahead and show that.
Yeah, I'll actually close the poll, and 99%, yes.
Wow, that is great to know. I'm glad this was helpful. I'll just show this one last thing before we conclude then.
Yeah,
so I'll go into the grip color.
It's not sharing just yet, Volker, so.
Pardon?
It's not sharing just yet.
Oh.
You might have to start it back because I had the poll up.
As soon as you close the poll, I should be good. Are you seeing it?
No, we are just seeing that first page, so nothing yet. There you are. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, so I've gone into options and selected grip colors. And so unselected grip color, hover grip color, selected grip color, and grip contour color. So what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and just for grip contour change that from black to yellow. Since I have a black background, Just remember, yellow would also be yellow in paper space, so might be hard to see there. But I mean, you're not going to see a whole bunch. It just it does allow things to stand out a little bit better, more better. See, and I actually kind of like it. I always forget the settings there, to be honest, so I never turn it on. But yeah, grip contour. So maybe, whether that helps or not, I know, like Christina said, some people do have trouble, you know, with colors and stuff like that. So maybe that'll help. And remember, you can also increase the size of the grips within that dialog.
And just one last reminder, because we do have some questions about the recordings. These sessions are recorded, and we do post the previous ones are available as well as the upcoming ones. I've put the link. I've answered to that question, and I've also put it in the chat as well. You can get it from the forum site as also. So you can also Google. If you Google AutoCAD IQ and look for videos, that will come up as well. So this one will be up there. We try to get those up pretty quickly. But
yeah, give us a day, though.
Yeah, give us, I'd say, you know, within the week, but we're usually faster than that. It will not be up. It will not be up in the next 5 minutes, we'll say, but it will be there. Yeah, it will be
It takes a little longer than that.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're going to call it quits. And again, Christina and I really thank you for attending today. In fact, the whole support team does. And we hope you'll join us next week when we take a look at how to create macros to automate things in your AutoCAD. And having said that, I wish you guys the best. We know your time's valuable. So have a great day, okay?
Thank you.